I'm going to discuss about National Monetization Pipeline. This program has recently launched by the Government of India, and the objective of the Government of India is to get 600 lakh crore through core assets of central government. So let us first try to understand about the background of this program. Now, recently, the Government of India is looking for various avenues of investment, and it is trying to get money from various sources. As a result of this, National Monetization Pipeline has been launched by the Government of India recently. This program has recently been launched by the Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs. It has been developed by Niti Aayog in consultation with the other infrastructure line ministries, based on the mandate for asset monetization under the Union Budget 2021-22. If you look at the budget of this year, this program has been suggested under the Union Budget 2021-22. The NMP estimates aggregate monetization potential of 6 lakh crore through core assets of the central government over a period of financial year 2022 to 2025. This program has been identified in Union Budget 2021-22. The budget has identified monetization of operating public infrastructure assets as a key means for sustainable infrastructure financing. And for that, the National Monetization Pipeline has been visualized as a brownfield infrastructure assets. Now, what is brownfield infrastructure assets and what is brownfield investment in general? So there are two kinds of investment. One is greenfield investment and second is brownfield investment. Brownfield investment are those investment which are done on the already built facilities, whereas green investment is, it starts with the first facility. It is construction of new facility. So the brownfield is basically such kind of assets where the facilities is already been developed, but then it has been started by it has been given to the people or investors. Now, the various objectives of this program has been mentioned in the program itself, and the first was that it is based on the philosophy of creation through monetization. So what Government of India is trying to do, it is trying to monetize its various assets. The Government of India has a various assets which are lying idle. For example, there are assets of various central public sector enterprises. There are assets of road ministries. Railway has a various lands. Defense has land. So there are many assets that Government of India has, but these assets are not creating any revenue for the Government of India. So what Government of India is trying to do to create or monetize those idle assets and get some monetary incentives, and that is what this program is aimed at. So it is creating enough money for the Government of India by aiming or by tapping the private sector investment for new infrastructure creation. The objective of this program is to unlock the value of investment in brownfield public sector assets. So there are various public sector assets already been built by the public sector. These can be utilized by the various private sector agencies, and therefore Government of India can get the money from these resources. Under this model, the modality of such unlocking is envisaged to be way of structured contractual partnership as against privatization or slump sale of assets. So one thing that you need to keep in mind here, that it is not the Government of India is going to sell some assets to private sector. So there is no transfer of ownership happening in this case. Rather, what is happening that government of India is renting those assets to the private sector. So it must not be misunderstood, as you can see in the privatization. Under the privatization, what happens that the government of India sell its asset to the private sector. Here, the transfer of asset is not happening. Only the rights are given to operate for a certain period of time in those assets. The institutional mechanism for this program has also been mentioned. A core group of secretaries on asset monetization has been established under the cabinet secretary, and the related secretaries of the various department will be its member. So the objective of this institutional mechanism and an empowered core group of secretaries is to implement and monitor the asset monetization program for its effective implementation. The program has made the framework of the national monetization pipeline. It has a three key imperatives. First, it mentioned the monetization of rights, not ownership. This is the significant step that government of India is taking, and it is different from other sort of privatization model that government of India has followed so far. So what it is suggesting that monetization of rights, not the ownership. So there is no transfer of ownership that is happening under this program. There is a brownfield de-risked assets, all those assets which are not risked and the assets are in the brownfield, okay, which will give stable revenue for the government of India, that has been trying to monetize. And there will be a structured partnership with the various participants. There will be strict key performance indicators and performance standards in order to measure the performance of the various parties. So therefore, it is based on the various objectives. There will be objective guidelines, and that has clearly been set by the government of India under this program. This program has estimated potential of 6 lakh crore rupees. And for that, government of India has identified various sectors where it will be raising the money. Among them, road sector is one which will be contributing to the highest, to the tune of rupees 1,60,200 crore. Further, the railway will be contributing to rupees 1,52,496 crore. And apart from that, there is a power transmission, power generation, natural gas pipeline, product pipeline, urban real estate, stadiums, ports, aviation, mining, warehousing, and telecom. So all the infrastructure will be used by the government of India to monetize under the national monetization pipeline. These assets can be utilized by the private sector to enhance their production activities as well as for their own purposes. So it will provide ready-made facilities for the private sector to operate from the government sources or resources. So that is what the government of India has tried to estimate under this program. Further, there will be various instruments that will be used by the government of India to fetch money under this program. So it has highlighted that there will be a direct contractual instruments between the public sector and the private sector, such as public private partnership. This model has quite successful so far in the road construction and other construction. Such things will be utilized by the government of India to get the projects under the national monetization pipeline. At the same time, the government of India is also trying to tap the capital market potential for such projects. You can see at this point of time, the capital market is flooded with a lot of funds from the various FIIs and the domestic investors. So there is another potential and another avenue for these investors to make investment in the public projects. And for that, two instruments will be utilized by the government of India. which is infrastructure investment trusts and real investment infrastructure trusts. So REITs and infrastructure investment trusts will be utilized by the government of India. InvITs and REITs are like the mutual fund. As it happens with the mutual fund, that the resources are generally taken from the people, and these resources, that is money, okay, once pooling the money and this pooling of money, and they make investment in the market, share market. Similarly, what the government of India will do under the infrastructure investment trust and RETs, they will pool the money from the people, and this money will be utilized for funding the various infrastructure projects. And whatever the gain will be earned by the government of India, those will be distributed to these people. So REITs and InvITs are like mutual funds, and the similar kind of avenues will be provided to the common people. So in a way, the general people and others can also participate in the process, and it gives avenues for those people and those investors to earn money through making investment in the public infrastructure. This is what expected under this program. The monetization value that is expected to realized by public asset owner through the asset monetization process may either in the form of upfront accruals or by way of private sector investment. So upfront payment can be done, or by way of private sector investment can also be done in order to fund this project. The implementation and monitoring mechanism has also been mentioned under this program. One monitoring mechanism we have already looked about, but then the program also mentioned it clearly that various regulatory interventions will be done by the government of India at appropriate level. The modalities and the monetization dashboard has been planned in order to implement the various provisions of National Monetization Program and pipeline under in a better way. So the program is envisaged to be supported through necessary policy and regulatory intervention by the government of India in order to ensure efficient and effective process of asset monetization. This includes streamlining operational modalities, encouraging investors' participation, and facilitating commercial efficiency. Apart from that, there will be a real-time monitoring through asset monetization dashboard. This will help the government of India to effectively roll out the program and do a continuous monitoring of the various projects under this program. This will also help in integrating the various efforts made under the National Monetization Pipeline, and at the same time, efficiency and effectiveness can also be ensured under this program. Now, this program has various significance, especially in light of the fact that currently Government of India is facing a lot of crunch, especially in the context of finance. So therefore, in such circumstances, if Government of India is able to fetch 6 lakh crore from the financial year 2022 to 2025, it will be a huge boost for the Government of India. At the same time, it will also be very helpful for the Government of India to push for the privatization through other channels. So let us look about the significance of this program. So first significance, it will provide a medium-term roadmap for identifying potential monetization. So this is just a beginning. The Government of India has various assets, and the state government has also various assets which are idly lying there. These assets can be utilized by the Government of India. These assets can be better monetized by the state government in order to get revenue. So that is what the program is opening at. It is a paradigm shift in infrastructure operations. Now the Government of India is trying to ensure 21st century infrastructure projects in the country. So it will be a huge shift the way infrastructure management will be done by the Government of India. So under this, what Government of India is trying to do, there are public infrastructure, there are public assets, and these public assets will be utilized by the private sector. So that is one, that where you can see the paradigm shift in the operations of infrastructure in the country. It will also provide avenues for the in investment through InvITs and REITs. So the common people will get some extra avenue to make investment in various projects of the country. In fact, the public projects will be well funded by the common people of this country. As you can see, they are doing for the funding of the private sector. Now, today, the people are participating in the capital market, and through participation of capital market, they are funding the private sectors. Similarly, this can be done now when the public sector projects can be funded by the people, and in this process, the people can also get the benefit. So it's a decentralized mode where we see finance are being taken from the people as well. This program is broader and long. It has a longer term vision of inclusiveness and empowerment of common people. Now, once the infrastructure created, it creates a lot of opportunities for the common people as well. Let's say a road is constructed, it provides a lot of benefits to the common people. If a road is constructed in rural India, it creates opportunity for the agriculturist to sell its item to the mandis. So there is a good connectivity happens. Similarly, if an infrastructure is created, an individual who is residing in rural hinterland can have a better access to road and transport and can go to the urban part of the country for its checkup. So in a way, it is inclusive in the nature because it will provide a lot of infrastructure facilities to the people, and it will ensure various potential that the rural India can utilize. Similarly, if you look at currently, the government of India is facing, huge fiscal deficit. And as a result, the government of India's finance is restricted. Now, in such circumstances, if the government of India has continuously to make investment in infrastructure projects, it will have to take more loans from the market, which it is already doing. So there is a tremendous pressure on the government of India's fiscal deficit. So if now government of India is able to fund its infrastructure through the private sector, it will greatly help to the government of India to avoid unnecessary fiscal deficit in the country. Similarly, the government of India also has to go for public welfare measures. If infrastructure and capital investment and capital expenditure of the government of India is done through the private sector, this will save enough money for the government of India to go for private sector investment and also to provide money to the households. So in a way, it will help the public welfare measures in the country. Similarly, NMP helps realize value from idle assets. This is the most significance. Now, if you look at the throughout the country, there are various central public sector enterprises, state public sector enterprises, which are now not performing well, and therefore their assets are lying idle. Now, if you utilize these assets, it will help in generating extra revenue for the government of India. And at the same time, it will also help the various assets which are lying idle to utilized properly. So in a way, it is going to help the economy. It is going to help the government. So therefore, there are many significant aspects of national monetization pipeline. These are the various benefits that has been visualized under the program. This can be also said about the various stakeholders. So there are, if you look at the stakeholders, economy, government, developers, and banks and financial institutions. All these will get benefited under this program. Economy will get benefited because more infrastructure will create. If the more infrastructure is created, more number of investors will come into the country, more industry will be set up, and more jobs will be created in the country. This will help in providing more jobs in the country. Similarly, the government will also get benefited because it will able to garner money from the private sector to fund the public infrastructure. This will create more space for fiscal policy for the government of India. And as a result, the government of India can emphasize on quality of expenditure. The developer will also get benefited under this program as they 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 will have access to finance, and it will help in increasing the investors' confidence in the economy. Similarly, the banks will get various projects to fund, and in a way they can get the return. Since it will be funded by the banks, so therefore the banks will get enough opportunity to do business in the country. However, there are many challenges that has been highlighted under this program, and the experts are saying that the program will create challenges with respect to the crony capitalism. The crony capitalism is a situation when the resource of the country are controlled by very few people. So there is a fear among the people that the government's resource and assets might be controlled by the very few people in this country. So that may lead to a situation where the government's function and the government's assets can be controlled by the vested interest groups. Further, there is only handful industrial groups in the country which are managing large infrastructure projects. Only those sectors will get benefited, and only those people will get benefited in the process. Further, realization of value from the assets is one of the important thing and criticism that is made against these projects. So what happens when the project is allocated to a private sector? The private sector would want to get maximum revenue from these assets. And for that, it may increase the user charges for the people. So as a result, the people will have to give more money against such projects. And this may cause hamper to the people. And that is what it is visualized under this program. Further, there is lack of identifiable revenue streams in the various assets. Now, the government of India is yet to find out which projects and how the projects will provide revenue to the private sector. Further, the disputes may increase in such circumstances. The government of India has not clearly mentioned about the dispute resolution mechanism. In absence of dispute resolution mechanism, there is a fear that it will meet the same fate which the PPP projects have met. So therefore, the dispute resolution mechanism must be in the place. Presence of regulated tariffs may affect the particular sector. For example, if government has made intervention and government has prescribed the tariff of certain projects, in such circumstances, the private sector will not get benefit, and they will not see that the project will be beneficial for them, and therefore they may not bid for such projects. So regulated tariffs may not attract various players in particular projects that government of India needs to look at. Similarly, independent sectoral regulators are required so that the various problems with respect to the sectors and disputes with related to particular sectors can be identified in a better way and deal it with properly. Apart from that, what the scheme is mentioning, it has mentioned the various reforms that need to be put in place before implementing the national monetization pipeline. So it has suggested the financial market reforms. So for financial market reforms, it is suggesting the government of India needs to revitalize the bond and credit market in India. So once the bond and credit market will provide more opportunities to the foreign investors as well as investors in the country, this will ensure national monetization pipeline to be effectively implemented in the country. Similarly, there is a need for strengthening municipal bond market. Revitalizing asset monetization is one of the important aspects, and therefore the government of India has introduced national monetization process pipeline, And that is the first process in this aspect. Similarly, long-term financing landscape, enabling user charges to finance infrastructure, and so on, has been suggested as part of the financial sector reforms under the program. It has also suggested about the general reforms, especially when it comes to the ease of doing business. The similar kind of reforms that has been suggested under this program as well. It is suggesting about the strengthening infrastructure quality, promoting competition, enhancing capacity development of project execution agencies, institutionalization and efficiency of dispute resolution, as we have talked about. Similarly, enforcement of contracts. That is one important aspect of ease of doing business must be put in place. Similarly, other things have also been mentioned under this program so that private sector gets due participation in this program. Now, what is required under this program is not about the plan. It's a good plan, it's ambitious plan. But the fact is the program will get implemented properly, only then it will create values. So in conclusion, we can say that NMP is a good in concept, but value lies in its execution. When the execution will happen, it will help us to realize the potential of the program, and then we can expect that the state government also participate in the process of asset monetization. Thank you.